Our next reader is another great teacher and legend at University of Idaho. He's a former Guggenheim Foundation and two-time NEA Fellow. And he has published 10 books of poetry. Bob Wrigley's, or Robert Wrigley, excuse me, I don't know how formal you want to be, Bob. Most recent book is The Church of Omnivorous Light, which I just think is a spectacular title. Published in 2013 in the United Kingdom. I had the opportunity to be in Bob Wrigley's poetry techniques class, and I think he's one of the most extraordinary readers I've ever heard. His poems are as sonorous and powerful as his reading. But I remember whenever I was called on to read a poem, I would say, "May I defer to you, Bob? I would rather hear you read it." And after the second time, one of the students who thought I was insincere said, "Shut up, Max, and read it." But I really was being sincere. Please welcome Bob Wrigley.
So 5 minutes before we're about to go out the door, my wife informs me that actually what Sneak Peeks means is that we are to read poems that have never been published, that no one has ever read, or prose. And I hadn't planned on that. So I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of poems that no one, even myself, has ever read. Frozen Fawn. Funny, by which I mean mysterious or eerie, the way I just happened to look out the western window of my shack at exactly the moment the morning sun, via the same opening in the heavy brush I glanced through, made the carcass shine unmistakably in the shape of what it was. Still, I approached slowly and arrived to see it was entirely covered by frost, the same hoar frost that covers everything today. For some reason, I remove my glove before I touch it, my warm fingertips melting away the death call and revealing the spots it still wears. Born too late to survive this too early week of unseasonable cold, it is curled in the posture of sleep it must have assumed last night. Next to it, the dark, unfrosted spot where its mother would have lain and rose from in the first early light, then walked away into the world as she must. Let me not, I think to myself, impose my easy anthropomorphic bullshit upon you, little one. Your mother, covered so late, may have been the lucky one here, what with the cold and hunger everywhere around and within her. And yet I sit where she lay last night for a long time and stroke all the frost from your body until you seem more alive and more asleep than ever. It's true, you are frozen to the ground, and also true, the coyotes will find you soon. At least, I confess, I hope they do. Otherwise, I'll have to lever you up with the shovel, stuff you in a burlap sack, or load you in a wheelbarrow and take you off somewhere they will. Somewhere where the coming thaw will not afflict me with your decomposition. It is barely December. Winter, by the myth of the human calendar, has yet to begin. But for now that you're dressed and presented like a child in a coffin, I'll leave you here and look from my window from time to time today and tomorrow and note, while the cold lasts, the restitching of your frosty winding sheet around you, and probably hear some coming night the coyotes set up their celebratory howls at finding you. And I'll feel what, I wonder? It would be yet another kind of anthropomorphic bullshit to imagine your mother did not mourn when she left you at first light. Let me be at least as sad as she must have been, and let me go as she did into the world again, bereaved, but also cold, and beginning to be a little hungry, in search of what sustains us. This one's not any more cheerful, by the way. But it is shorter. The title of this one is Proust, as in Marcel, P-R-O-U-S-T. By the light of my reading lamp, she regards me, or regards the shape of me where I sit, the shadow I am, she being mostly blind. She's lying on the couch, and it may be she is uncertain I am even here, for she was asleep when I entered the room and took my place and began to read. And before I picked up my book, it was I who studied her, so slight and barely visible was her breathing. Only the dream twitch of a paw made me know she was alive, and I began. Then somewhere in the midst of Swan's Way, I became aware of her again. It seemed I felt her looking at me, in that way one feels such a thing, and lowered my book and peered over my glasses to see her, her pupils large and besilvered milkily. And now we have been looking at one another for a long time. I waiting for her to lay her head down and sleep again. She perhaps wondering if the dark stillness available to her as scent at least is me or the ghost of me in my chair, there even when I am not. And since I am wondering what next endless memory will be taken up, and wondering also how long our mutual study might last, I rise and watch over my shoulder as she traces the shape of my going to the pantry, where I fetch her one of the biscuits she loves. Thank you.